All right. Last week we had a play. It was a potential backcourt violation. Did you have the play, Dave, or no? Yeah, let's just show the play for the new guys. So he fumbles it, he goes and gets it, he taps it back, and it's a quick, it happens fast. We don't have replay, so in this case, we'll show it a couple more times for these guys. But basically, he's still in this front court when he taps it back, so he's good. You treat that like an out of bounds line there. He can save it, tap it, and land in the backcourt, and he's fine. But what we want to talk about also on this play was whether that tap is the start of a dribble. Because if he does after he taps it to save it here, then now can he go get it? Obviously, but now if he possesses it, can he dribble it, or is that tap considered the start of his dribble? And then if he possessed it here, he would be done. And we had a really good discussion about it. A lot of people had different opinions on it, but you go ahead and put that rule up, Dave. If you look at the case play, the comment 4-15, it is not possible for a player to travel during a dribble, which is very important and good to know. Obviously, a lot of coaches and fans do not know that, but we can have other things, but we can never have a travel during the dribble. You have to possess the ball to travel. And what is possession? You either cuff it, palm it, or put two hands on it. So in our world, it's pretty much two hands. A player is not dribbling while slapping the ball during a jump, when a pass rebounds from a player's hand, a fumble or a tip, when a player fumbles, or when a player bats a rebound or pass away from other players who are attempting to get it. The player is not in control under these conditions. It is a dribble when a player is in control of the ball, bats, throws, or pushes the ball to the floor, and is the first to touch the ball after it returns from the floor. I want to read that again because that's really the nuts and bolts here. It is a dribble when a player is in control of the ball, bats, throws, or pushes the ball to the floor, and is the first to touch the ball after it returns from the floor. It is not a dribble when a player, I can't see the right, whoops, holds the ball and touches it to the floor once. Yeah, that's another one just to remember. If he has two hands on it, he can touch the floor with it as many times as he wants. That would not be a double dribble. But the big one here is the control ball bats, throws, or pushes the ball to the floor and is the first to touch the ball as it returns to the floor. So we know if you are throwing the ball and you fumble it, right, you have the right to grab that ball, put two hands on it, and you are still good. We hear a lot of coaches yelling when that happens. It's just a fumble. You can use the fumble sign if you want, but they are still able to start their dribble. A lot of coaches think that they're dead. They'll say they're dead. It's like, no, he just fumbled the ball, right? Where it gets tricky is when he fumbles that ball and then he pushes it to the floor, right? And there's an argument to say in this play, did that kid push that ball to the floor or did he just tip it back into the front court? And really where the rubber meets the road and where the decision has to be made, and they're all judgment calls, but that ball comes up and he taps it again to the floor. Now we start a dribble. Or if it's loose down the court, right, and he taps it a couple of times to get it started again, that obviously would be control too. So just food for thought on that one. Do you have the next one, Dave?
Yeah, let me
And then 4.15.1 situation B. A1 throwing his pass is beyond A2. A2 reaches out and slaps the ball towards A1's basket, which is what we kind of say here, even though it's not a throw-in. Or B, A2 muffs the pass. In both situations, A2 then gains control and dribbles to the basket and scores, ruling no violation, either A or B. So basically, they're saying that you really have to possess that ball unless you're going to tip it and tip it a second time. And then where it gets a little gray, right, is if it gets away from him. So he tips it, he fumbles it, he tips it, strikes it in a downward motion, but it gets away from him. He takes 3 steps and goes and gets it again. If he grabs it then, I would say that he has possession now and he's good to go. But there's an argument there to say that he'd be the first one to touch it, So anyway, I just want to clarify that from last week. That was good stuff. Does anybody have anything to add to that or counter that?
Well, I think something important to note too, as far as like helping make that judgment, is what is the direction of the ball when it is being slapped like that? Is he pushing it towards the floor, sort of in his general area, or is he just pushing it in a way to quote unquote keep it in bounds or keep it in play or towards another teammate of his, whatever. I think when you're trying to make those quick decisions and those judgment calls on whether it's a dribbling or not, think about what direction is that player attempting to push the ball when they're doing so.
Anybody else have anything on that? All right, we'll move on into the 5 plays.
Thank you.
Okay, so this was a play again. We'll just go through it again to see it again live. And, that's one of those plays we talked about last week. It looks funny. Nobody in the gym complained. Everybody just figured that had to be a backcourt violation. And, the coach for Glen Lake, he's not upset. He's clapping, just realizes that it's a backcourt violation. But in reality, it was not a backcourt violation. Okay, now today's plays, we're going to start out with some timing plays. Backcourt, 10 seconds in the backcourt. So look as the ball goes in the basket, and then watch the trail official with his count. Okay, now let's back this up. Let's talk about good habits on this. Okay, the ball goes out of bounds. What's the time on the clock right now? It's 4:08. And when does the count start? The count will start, the 5-second count to inbounds the ball starts when the player has possession of it. So that would start right now. And the official starts that count. So as I back it up, if you watch the official, he goes and starts the count on the 5 seconds to get it inbounds. There's the start of it. And then look what he does. He switches and starts his count with the other hand. And it's always good to switch hands because it tells everybody in the gym that you got a different count. It's not the same count. So now look at the clock. We're at about 4:07. Now you can always nitpick on when do you really start the count, but let's just say right about here, 4:06. So we know 10 seconds is going to be up. We know exactly when that's going to happen. So watch the clock.
When you're in here, it's smooth sailing. For decades, we've brought you the very best for less.
Okay, I'm just going to walk this through in slow motion right now.
Stores. Endless new fun.
Good steady count by the official.
This football game. Hopefully, maybe goals. And
I can't tell who's got their audio going, but if you could mute, please.
I'm telling you, it is just, and I'm telling you, you're just my little brother, my young little brother.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so the ball goes over here. Look the official. And we've got a 10-second count. Now, what's the clock say now? It was started at 4:06, and he blows the whistle, and the clock stops at 3:55. General rule of thumb is by the time you blow that whistle and the clock is stopped, it takes roughly a second, depending on how good the timer is. But 3:55, that tells me that this was a pretty steady count, an excellent job of counting off the 10 seconds. Anybody notice anything else on that you want to talk about or point out, good, bad, or indifferent on that particular
Where's the
second?
C?
Yeah, Matt.
Where's the C at?
The C, let's see. The C shouldn't be too far away right there. Here's the C.
I think you just get cut off by the angle of the camera. So
Yeah, you can't see very good, but the C's down there in the vicinity. Don't want to, one of the things is it's easy for the C to leave early, and that's the thing that I'm always working on, making sure I don't leave too early, because now we got a double team here. And just a good steady count. Anybody else see anything on that they want to chime in and chat about?
Yeah, one good rule of thumb is when you're in the front court, or I'm sorry, when you're in the back court and you're the C, be more like the trail. When you're in the front court and you're the C, be more like the lead.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah, when you're in the front court for that, or when we're going you have a press. I mean, sometimes at C, you probably want to straddle that half court line so that you can help out the new trail coming in, especially with the pressure and all that. You have lots of time to get to your spot at the free throw.
Yep. Yep. Anybody else? All right, so we got a casebook play, very basic coming up here. A1 is in A's backcourt and has dribbled for 9 seconds, then passes the ball forward towards A2 in the front court. While the ball is in the air traveling from backcourt to front court, the 10-second count is reached. Anybody want to help us out and tell us?
10-second violation.
yeah, by rule, it's a 10-second violation.
Yeah, that's a
not
possession in the front court.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sometimes it gets, people think because it crossed the division line that it's in the front court. And until the ball's touched by someone in the front court or the ball is in the front court, has not established front court. So that would definitely be a violation. And the answer, ruling violation by team A, is the ball has not gained front court location. It's this B's ball for a throw-in. And this rule is from an older book, not this year, so it would be at one of the 4 spots in the new front court. Play number 2, another 10 seconds, same game. We'll just watch it live. Okay, let's stop it right there. Back it up. Let's go back to the start. Ball goes in the basket. Player takes it out of bounds. When it's in bounds, we are at 3:05. Okay, now just keep that in mind. Okay, what's the clock say right now? 2:52. So we went from 3:05 to 2:52. Has the ball has it obtained front court status at this point? No, it has not. So let's go back and let's just look at what happened. And this is, I mean, the reason why I put this play in is because I've done the same thing in the past where, the play gets broken up and the count gets broken. So watch the official here, does a good job of counting right up until the point where the ball becomes loose. Now he stops counting right there. The count should still be going. And at this point, look at the clock. It's 2:54 and it was 3:05. So right now the 10-second count should have been going off. But because the ball got loose, the official seemingly forgot to keep counting here. And this happens a lot. This happens more than people realize. And no one questions it because it doesn't seem odd at that point. And anyway, so I wanted to show that as to make sure just because the ball's loose, the count has to continue until when? Until it, establishes front court status, or else there's a 10-second violation and you blow the whistle. So just make sure that when this ball gets loose here, the count should continue. Okay, anybody have anything to add on that one?
Dave, I watch a lot of film and I see probably half of our officials are not giving a visible backcourt count.
Yeah, you should just do it just that way it's always, even if, you know, yeah, if you do it even when there's no pressure on the ball and there's clearly he's going to make it over, it's just a habit to get into. And I think you're right. It's one of those things that you just, if you do it all the time, you're just going to naturally do it when the heat's on, and when the pressure comes like that, you start thinking about calling a foul, a loose ball. Now you lose focus on that. You still have to. It's a lot to ask of an official. You got to count 10 seconds, and you also got to call a foul. Possible travel violation, double dribble, whatever. And watching the ball and keeping the count. It's not easy. It's easy to say, but you just have to practice it. So the more you do it, the more you think about it and run it through in your head, the easier it becomes.
It's kind of a good rule of thumb too. If you have no pressure in the backcourt and you start that count and you look up at the clock and you kind of get yourself synced. So when you do have the pressure, you are synced.
Yep. Yeah. And that's we're gonna see some more plays that deal with that exact topic you're talking about. And but before we do that, anybody else have any more before we go to the case book on this one? Okay, so here's situation B. Team A has control of the ball for 8 seconds in A's backcourt when A1 passes the ball toward Team A's front court. The official's count continues. The ball strikes the floor in A's front court and stays there without being touched by any player. Should the count continue after the ball touches the front court? Anybody want to take this one?
No,
It hasn't been touched yet.
So the count should continue?
no,
When the ball touches the front court, does it not have front court status?
It does. And so as soon as it touches, even if it hasn't touched a player, and this is where the nuance of these kind of rules, because you don't see this happen that much, going through these casebook plays and talking about them, it just really helps. So when it does happen, as soon as that ball touches front court, it is front court status. The count ends at that point. So ruling no, backcourt count should be terminated as soon as the ball has front court location by touching the floor, or if it touches somebody in the front court, it's got front court status. Anybody else have anything to add to that?
I would just say on all those plays, when you get close to a 10 count, that we should be hyper aware through eyes and ears that we may have a timeout coming and to be ready for that.
Great point, Mike. Excellent point. Yeah. And and there's a lot going on, and it really helps that the official who's counting, if it's a coach right there next to you, then you might be able to hear him, but that's where your partners, have to be, on high alert too to get that timeout, because sometimes it can be within that last second where they're calling it, and timing is everything. Great point.
New lead often has the best chance to see a bench or a coach in that situation.
Yep. And so it's just those are the little things that help make a crew strong. Okay, play number 3. Now, take a look at this. This is a 5-second count in the front court. Okay, anybody notice anything there? When I first saw this clip, I was wondering why wasn't there a 5-second call? And so let's just go through this in slow motion. Just kind of, he crosses half court. So the official in the back court, he's counting. Okay, so he counts. Now when he crosses half court, this is where this gray area of officiating gets tricky. Who should pick up the count on this right away?
That's the C's primary.
It's in the C's primary. And so you have to, one thing he could do is maybe step a little bit towards the ball to indicate to the trail that I've got this and start the count. So the trail could see him counting. If he wanted to just start counting, he wouldn't have to move, just start counting. Now he has it because he's counting. But now you could make a case there's a 6-foot separation there, but now, and the rule is from the front foot of the offensive player to the front foot of the forward foot of the offensive and defensive player. That's how they measure the 6 foot. mark, and clearly he's there now. So once again, look at the clock, 1:16. Let's just run it live. It's at 1:10. And maybe, what do you guys think? Think there was a 5-second count there that was missed, or you think that was just he wasn't closely guarded? I mean, and the reason why I like this play is because look at the time on the clock. There's a minute 19, 3-point ball game, and this is a big possession because the guests are up by 3, and the white team's working their butt off on defense, and so they're looking to get a turnover, get a steal, whatever. They're playing good defense, and do they play good enough defense to deserve a 5-second count in the front court? Let's just play it live again and see what you think. So anybody have any thoughts on that?
I mean, you would the only time I'd say that count should have been ended was when he picked up his dribble, but based on your counting of the clock there, it looks like that was after 5 seconds. From what I can tell, and who knows, maybe the angles were different from, where they were standing on the court. It can be tricky sometimes, but looking back on it, it definitely seems like a missed 5-second call to me.
Yeah, so this
But I
is
may be a little biased having made a big 5-second call in the past.
yeah. Yeah, so this is what happened here. I can tell you what happened was nobody took the count until late. So watch when they goes over the half court. Nobody's counting yet. And then all of a sudden we have two. He starts coming towards the lead's primary, but doesn't quite get there. So watch the lead and watch the C. The C will step up a little bit and start to count right now. He starts to count right there. He starts to count, and then the trail decides to count. But that was really, really late to start to count.
Yeah, it can definitely be a little tricky when um they're being pressed in the backcourt if
Yeah.
you're C and they cross the half court line on your side as C
Yep.
to pick up that 5 count.
Yeah. And so, and you're working with different crew every night, and it's not the same. So you don't, you can pregame only so many things, and just the official, the C should have immediately it was in his primary. So as soon as it comes over the line, right here, that's in C's primary. So the C should let everybody know by starting the count. That because it's closely guarded, and you could step up a little bit and start the count, and we might even have a rotation at some point if the lead decides to come over. But let everybody know that you've got this. You're counting, and it's no one's really counting, and we're closely guarded. Nobody's counting. We're closely guarded. Then he steps up and starts to count. Then the trail says, "Well, it's in my area now. I better count." And you know, to me, it was really good defense that maybe got shortchanged. But once again, it's tough with angles and stuff. But just wanted to show that as a good example of knowing, if it's in your primary, you got to start to count and let your crew know. So the trail would know that the C has that. And then let's look at this next play, which kind of piggybacks right on with that one. Another 5-second play here. Just watch this. So the C is going to make the call on this. Everybody get a good look at that. Let's back it up and run it live again now that you've seen it through. I mean, to me, this is textbook officiating right here. Okay, the C starts a count. Then what do you see? Switch because he started the count on the catch. 5-second closely guarded, starts the count. The C starts, the dribble starts. So then he starts the count over again with the opposite hand. And whose primary is the dribbler in now? Is the ball handler in? goes over and getting ready to head into the leads primary, went over into the trails primary. But notice that the C stays with the count. I mean, that's just, and then you look at the clock. Let's go back and just look at the clock from when it started to when he made the call and see if he seems to be pretty close. So we got it right here. He starts the 5-second closely guarded, but not on the dribble, but just now when the dribble starts. Okay, now it's 6:16 right now. Now he starts the other hand, so roughly 6:16. And then he stops it at 6:08. So do you think did he hurry him at all? Was that a quick count? I mean, no, he gave, he to me it was, if anything, you gave him the benefit of the doubt. So let's just watch it again and just watch the pace of the count.
Receptions, which leads the league by a huge margin. It's just unreal the production they get from Hippie, Ferguson, Ferguson.
Yeah, make sure everybody mutes their for us, please. Thanks.
And everybody seeing that, and it was just a good pace of the count. If anything, gave him a little extra, but stayed with it as it goes to the opposite, because it's too hard for the C to pick that up, or the trail rather to pick that up and know what the count was at that point. So I just thought that was, any other thoughts on that? I just thought that was an excellent job of the official, just staying with it. Because a lot of times when it goes out of our primary, what do? Do you guys keep counting, or do you just, let it go? Because it's puts you in a little tricky spot, because now you got to look all the way across the court and you might miss something that is in your primary. So it's really a tough position to be in, but I think that's how you're supposed to do it. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I think it's a little easier to let your partner know when you're dealing with the trail in the center, but to go all the way to the other side with the center and lead, that's a tough communicator right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really liked how he made it clear where the ball is going to be taken out. He's pointing side out over there at the 28-foot mark. Just excellent job. Anything else before we move on to play number 5?
I never saw the trail pick up a count either, so they obviously had good communication on that one, like Matt said.
Yeah, that was excellent. That was just excellent crew work there, without a doubt.
Yeah, and just real quick too, I mean, that's a great play. That's a great job for the official to stay with it. The only thing, I guess, if I had to ding him a little bit is just maybe go out and on more on the floor, because obviously now you have that matchup, and you have to go like right there where he starts to come out farther. You have that matchup now, so you got to make sure that you get a good angle on it if there's a foul or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those are those gray areas of officiating that you just use it's hard to practice for these things other than seeing it and knowing that it's okay to do that, and just realizing you still gotta make a call, get the best angle you can, and not get too far out on the floor and get run over and all those things that can go wrong. But yeah, I just thought that was an excellent job with that crew. Anybody else?
Yeah, Dave, just real quick. I forgot to mention this last week, but the guy that just spoke there is James Vanderveer, a longtime college official from up in the Gaylord area. So I just want to give a shout out to Dave, James, for coming on the last couple of weeks, and just really appreciate your perspective and some of your feedback. So thanks for jumping on, James.
Absolutely. I learned something last week too. So you can always learn. After 30 years, I didn't think I still learn every time. So yeah. I appreciate you guys doing this.
Oh, thanks. And James, your name came up with my crew the other day. They said, "Boy, it was great having James on there." So I mean, it was just knowledge is the key, sharing knowledge, and we have a big turnout tonight, and I appreciate everybody coming on here and batting the ideas around. And none of us know it all, and it's just working together for the good of the game. Play number 5. Okay, now this one's a little harder to see. It's a 5-second count again. We don't really have a clock to look at, but once again, when I saw this play for the first time, I thought, man, that just didn't seem right. So it's a 5 second count coming across the half court. The trail has it. So just keep an eye on that. Look for the 5 second count coming across.
Hit that rebound, except for her. Man-to-man defense for the Rams.
Both of these teams so far have shown really good ball control and movement. Be able to get some shots, like you said.
Okay, let's play it again live. Just look at the cadence of the count. Now this one's a little tricky. Now this is, we're dealing with 5 seconds here. So when you start talking about were you early or were you late with the count, there's not a lot of room for error. But just watch the count. Watch the officials count.
That's for her. Man-to-man defense for the Rams.
Both of these teams so far have shown really good ball control and movement. Be able to get some shots.
So I went through and timed it with my phone timer, and I got it 3.75 to 4 seconds in the range of when, once again, 1 second's not a lot, but it looked to me like, and think about the game here. This is obviously a big game. Look at the stands. There's fans everywhere. This might be a quarterfinal game. I'm not really sure. I don't remember where I clipped it from, to be honest, but I know it's a big game, a lot of energy. And so what happens is players get amped up and they go a little fast sometimes, and we are no different than players. Sometimes we get amped up and we start counting a little fast. And I think that's what happened potentially on this one. So just watch it and look at how it starts out fast and then ends fast, and then kind of had a little bit better pace towards the middle part of it. So just watch the count.
Hit that rebound, except for her. Man-to-man defense for the Rams.
Both of these teams so far have shown really good ball control and movement. Be able to shot, like you said.
Now that's early in the game, and they're clearly saying, "Hey, we're watching for closely guarded," and that's that sends a good message. But it just seemed a little fast to me, so I went back and timed it multiple times, and I got 4 seconds was the highest count I got on that, and I'm just nitpicking to learn some things in that. Is anybody else seeing a quicker count at the beginning, and then right at the end he kind of made a fast tick right at the end, but in the like the 3 second count seemed like the pace had evened out, and then right at the end picked it back up again. Let's just watch it again.
That rebound, except for her. Man-to-man defense for the Rams.
Both of these teams so far have shown really good ball control.
And it's close, but very decisive. So as far as the game management and with confidence, blowing the whistle, nice and strong. I mean, everything looks good from that end. Just a reminder that when we get in these bigger games, and with the season winding down, there's going to be some games that are more meaningful as we get towards districts, and you can get amped up as an official and get counting a little quick. So just keep that in mind. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about on this play?
Yeah, Mike, I'll chime in here. One thing I like to tell officials is that when you're going slow or you think you're going slow down even more, because we are amped up in these games. I mean, this is a 9-7. It's clearly early in the game. So this official may think in his head, I'm going slow. I'm counting slow. So just, take a step back again, slow yourself down even more. And that may have enabled him to just take that first couple seconds to really be emphatic about it and slow down again. So when you're going slow or you think you're going slow down even more, and then you're correct.
Yeah, because it's like on the right at the end on the count when he does his last count. So let's go through slow here. So and so it's like the last one was just, if you extend it all the way out, so you see where the ball is?
Yeah, I'm with you. If I counted that live, I'm counting 3 seconds here.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to give every advantage as I could with, because, there's judgment on when you start to count. I mean, that's, when they pick up their dribble and you start.
Right. And I think if you compared this to the previous clip where that official is slow and methodical and, he's not being over officious in his count. You know, where I feel like the first couple seconds here, we're going 1, 2, 3, and then we're going, oh crap, I'm going way too fast. But now I'm at 5 when I'm really at 3.
Yep. Yeah, and so it's just a, just remember, it's easy to be amped up. I mean, we're no different than players. We take the game serious and we get out there where the juices are flowing and we can, like you said, slow down more than you even think you have to because you're probably still, when you're amped up, it's you're going to be, and that's what I think Matt talked about earlier about, getting your timing down. When you're counting in the backcourt, look up and there's no pressure. And this is early in the game, may not have had a chance to work on that part of it, but it's not easy. Be able to get some shots like you said. Anything else on that before we move on? All right, got a few bonus plays here. Okay, so see what happened? So this is basically my partner wanted, this is one of my games. My partner wanted me to share this just to get everybody's perspective on it because we talked at length on this, not during the play. We went with the call right away, but I'm just curious as everybody's input on this. So watch the play live. It's a pass into the front court, a long pass, and you can see it in the bottom right part of the screen. Called a foul on White, or a foul on the dark team, the blue team. What do you guys think? Let's go and let's do it in slow motion. Okay, everybody see it right now?
I like the call actually. I mean, it looks like to me, and you can't really tell because you can't really see where White jumps from. But I mean, he's pretty much going A to A, going up to get the ball thrown towards him, and Blue is jumping from A to B, which B ends up where A is at, from what I can tell. But it's really, really hard to see where they both go. But I like the call.
Yeah, and so and that's what we talked about right after, the first time we had a chance to chat about it was, and I remember thinking, because I'm in the lead here, and I'm thinking, man, this is one of those tough, this is one of those ones you don't want to have to make because Blue comes down with it. Now the White player does stick his leg out for protection purposes. And my immediate thought was, the A to B thing as well. That's the first thing. And before we had a chance to see it on tape and all that, but just watch it live again. And so really, who else has some thoughts on this?
It's tough only because we can't see exactly what White is doing as far as like where they're jumping from, just because it's kind of cut off. But if we're to assume that White is jumping straight up and down,
Yep.
you can definitely tell that Blue is not. So if we're gonna make that assumption, then this is the right call for sure. I would say anyways. Where I think it could get trickier is if White is not jumping straight up. If we're going to make the assumption that White is jumping A to B, that's where I think it could get a little bit trickier. Now you got to kind of think about who was airborne first, and potentially going incidental too if they left at the same time.
Right. So yeah. So
But I think you got a good point though, just based on what we have in the video, just kind of assuming that White is jumping straight off the ground, straight up. I like the call.
Yeah. And so the reason why I wanted to show this was my partner wanted feedback from everybody else. And I told him that's what I thought I saw too. But also, what if you went with the incidental contact? And if you didn't want to go incidental contact, let's say you deemed it wasn't a foul, the team in blue actually travels because he comes all the way down, lands on his butt real quick before he passes it. So technically, you could have gone travel here. Now, live and sorting all that out in your head that fast is a tough one. Rather than giving a foul, you could have given a travel there, or you could have went with incidental contact and then travel, we've been thinking that, or just, call a foul either way. And in this case, the A to B was the reason for the call, which I don't see any reason with that. And that's based on what I saw live. That's what I would have gone with as well.
I like the call too. I'm curious on the undershirts.
Me too.
This is one of those games where Frankfurt's in dark. It was a cancer game, is what it was. I think this was a one. And so it was like we just went with everything that was, it was just tricky because the team, yeah, great points though. And so this was some special game they have for cancer, and they had different uniforms and everything was, usually they'd have their whites on, so the away teams got the whites on, and it was. But anyway, just want to go with incidental contact as part of the, if you did want to go with that, a lot of times officials, and certainly the fans in the stands, contact which may result when opponents are in equally favorable positions to perform the normal defensive and offensive movement should not be considered illegal, even though contact may be severe. So the point is that there can be contact like we had right there, and if they were both going A to B and equally, opportunity to make a play on that ball, and they collide, that's acceptable. That's okay. Now in this case, there was one person going A to B, another one going straight up, and that was ruled based on that. But that was not a popular call in the gym that night because it was against the home team, which was in dark. But it was, you have to have a reason for your call, and that was a reason that the official had, and we spent a lot of time talking about it. Anybody else have anything else to add on that one?
It's first and 2. It's time out.
Make sure we're all muted, please. Thank you.
All of a sudden, a great momentum here in Seattle.
All right, so now here, look for an illegal screen, and this is a good one, just, who should have picked up this illegal screen? So it's going to happen on the right side of the court. Or was it an illegal screen? I mean, that's all the things we want to talk about. Everybody see that right there? Right at the 3-point line, right. Okay, let's play it live again and just take a look at that and see what you think. Is this a good pass, or should something have been called on that one? You guys getting a good enough look at that? What does the white player do? He's setting a down screen and then swings his body and appears to clip the black player there. Now maybe it was some Hollywood going on by the player in black there. But whose call would that be? Who could make that call?
The lead has a great look at it.
The lead has that. That's exactly what I was saying. The C is kind of stacked, has a tough look. It's really hard because there's some bodies in front of the C. So when you're looking at the C here, he's trying to look through right here, and that's pretty hard. But the lead's got a nice look at it. And of course the trail could, if they see it, they could call it as well if they determine that that's a one you want to call. But it looked like he probably got him. But once again, it's easy to say it should have been called from here. But maybe it was a little more Hollywood going on that play than we could tell from here. Anybody else see anything on that they want to add to?
Yeah, it's a great. I mean, you mentioned the lead. That's actually 100% the lead. I mean, what you're doing is an off ball for right now with lead and with center. You're trying to find the most competitive matchup that you have, and right now, lead that's coming right down to him. He should have his eyes. There's guys at the free throw line right now. They're really not doing anything. The next competitive matchup would be that screen. So having eyes on that, helping out that trail, because trail could too. I mean, he doesn't have no threat with the ball right now, so he could come and take a peek at that as well. But lead really has nothing going on, and that's probably more his area than anything.
Would agree with you on that for sure. Anybody else have anything on that? All right, so now here we got a special bonus play. This one I've found last second, and just take a look at it. It's a little bit long, but it's worth looking at. Okay, so look at the score right now. 39-39 with 13 seconds to go, coming off a timeout. The crew, I'm assuming, I don't have it on here, but I'm assuming they'd huddled up and talked during the timeout about, who's got last shot, what the foul situation is, what the timeout situations are. If there's no timeouts left for a coach, you're not looking for timeouts from that bench, things like that. And so some of you guys that have been around for a while, what would you talk about in the crew? Is there anything that you would point out as you're talking with the crew in this timeout with 13 seconds to go? What would you be talking about other than the obvious? Who's got last second shot? And some of the obvious. Is there anything that you would bring to attention?
Yeah, the dark colored team, whatever color that is, they have a foul to give.
Yes.
And there's many coaching strategies with how to use that.
Yep.
But as officials, we need to know that.
Yeah, David, I'm so glad you mentioned that because that goes right into what happens on this play. What else? All right, let's just let it run out here and see what happens.
I think there's 6 dark colored jerseys on the floor right now, if I counted them right.
Well, let's go. That would. There's a coach.
I think I made one up.
Yeah, that coach is
my status quo for me.
But you got to, that's you can never count too many times to be sure. It's always a good habit. Okay, and that's exactly what Dave was talking about right here. So look at number 3. He reaches in. It's really hard to see. When I first saw this, I'm like, well, why is he calling that? Well, look, he reaches in, and he's clearly trying to foul him. He reaches in. So now the clock goes down to, I think it's 8.5, 8.6, it looks like. And the clock stops. So it's just to disrupt the flow of the game. So now we have to know as a crew that the guest team, the team in green, just now got their 4th foul. So we know that they're not going to look to foul, or they shouldn't. Now, granted, we're dealing with high school basketball players, and you can never fully assume anything, but most likely they're not going to look to foul. Not to say they won't foul, but they're not going to try to foul. That's not part of the game plan if they're well coached at this point and they're listening. And so now let's just let it play out. Well, the crew's talking, so something happened. Let's just back it up and I'll show you what happened because it's really hard to see because it's pretty far away. Let's back it up. So let's just go back here where the shot goes up. I got to back it up. Here we go. Okay, so we're right here. Ball's getting ready to be inbounded. You got to make sure that the player on the ball doesn't cross over the line and have a violation there. Pass comes out. Now the C's in a great spot to see that it's a 2, not a 3. and then just watch the trail official. What do you see?
Bench personnel.
Yeah, steps right in front of him and look at the clock. It looks like 7/10 of a second. Steps right in front of the official before the horn goes off. Right there. Does everybody see that? He steps right off, right onto the court, right in front of the official. The official has to stop. And now you can see 2 seconds here. So he's clearly on the court. Official blows the whistle, which is probably going to be hard to hear because everybody's screaming, thinking the game's over when the basket doesn't go in. And what's the official do? He runs, stays with the offending bench player, and points to him to let everybody know that this is why the whistle blew. So he's pointing to him. And so now what? So now you got to, first thing is to what? Get everybody to the bench, get them to their benches. And I guess my question for you is, would you make that call? Put yourself in that situation. Did that player,
100% since he's in the way.
absolutely, yeah, he's in the way, and it's this is a meaningful game. Now, could you maybe not let it go if the game was it was a 25-point game and it didn't really matter at that point? And they're just getting a little like celebratory with everything, and you just let it go at that point? Yeah, possibly, but this is in a game, and that player or whoever it was, whether he was a player or manager or whatever, he ran right on the court, right in front of that player, so right in front of the official. Now they're talking, getting their act together. Players are at their bench, and they're going to come out and see how he says, we got a technical foul, points to it. Now, ideally, you'd have each official go to each coach and explain what's going on. The green team knows they're going to be shooting because they know there's a technical. White team's not happy. And now you got assistant coaches, coaches everywhere wanting answers. And you got to come over and tell them what happened exactly. I mean, it's on tape. You have, you know what happened. You know the game's being taped. Great call by the official. He could have easily just turned a blind eye to it. So now we have a technical foul. Now the question becomes, there's 0 on the clock right now because so now do they put time back on the clock? And it looks like they put 1 second back on the clock. Okay, now how do they determine how much time was left? That's a tough one. Anybody want to jump in and say how you would handle this situation? Knowing that you're going to make
I'd ask the C who was opposite box if that shot would have counted or not, and use that to determine how much time to put on the clock, unless I had happened to glance up at the clock and I had definitive knowledge myself. If I did not, I would have gone to whether or not he was going to count that shot.
Yeah, so you got to have definitive knowledge based on the rules. So
Yeah.
it's
But that would give me definitive knowledge. If he said that it was going to count, I would know that there's at least X amount of time on the clock. If he was going to say that it would not count, then I'd know that there would be no time on the clock. Would you agree or potentially no?
Well, definitive knowledge, I think by rule means you have to know how much time. You can't say, I know it's 2/10 or it's 3/10. You have to, just because the C said that it was going to be good, how do you determine, is it a half a second? Is it a second? Now, if you looked up at the clock, or you got to have some means of measuring that. Not that anyone's going to question what's happening, because there certainly was time on the clock. But let's just roll it back and let's just see if we can determine when the foul occurred. So let's look for him to raise his hand to stop the clock. And the clock is at 1.3 right now. So if the C or the lead or trail, or if any one of them has looked at the clock, and right now he steps onto the court and it's showing 7/10 on the clock.
Can I ask a question, Dave?
Yeah.
Why is the lead ahead of 4 players? Does he contribute to that collision with the bench player, or should he have stayed back behind? That's why our trail, I meant. Why is the trail ahead of 4 players?
Yeah, well, let's just take a look at that, Jan, and see. So, all right, so here comes the shot. The trail is stepping down because it could be a putback here. You definitely want to stay engaged. Basket goes in. It's a 2. And yeah, he's getting ahead of, right now, he's ahead of at least 3. Yeah, he's just trying to stay with the ball, knowing there's very little time left. Yeah, but the player still is going to run onto the court. That's not going to change that. But yeah, you gotta. Anybody else? Anybody ever been in a situation like this where it's been last that you could share? It doesn't have to be a play exactly like this, but where you make a call and the game gets extended. And so this player, it does, they end up shooting 2 free throws. He misses the first one, unfortunately, for the green team. And so I'm just going to speed up through here. And I cut some of it out to get through to. So he shoots his second one. He makes that, but now it's a 1-point ball game. And they get the ball out at the division line opposite the table. And I don't know if they don't have any timeouts left, which very well could be the case. But not a very good attempt with 1 second to go. Anybody else have anything on that? I mean, I thought that was quite a job by the official to make the call, and it was the right call in a game that um, meant something, and close ball game. Anybody have any insight on that? Anybody had any
Yeah,
play?
well, I'll just say actually that's a great call by the official. And also, if you're making that call though, you have to know that hey, I got to look at the clock, and because I'm telling you, you have to put time back up because if you're telling people right now that if there's 0 on the clock, then you're saying that happened at zeros. You have to put something. You guys got to get together, try to figure out something. But I agree with the .7. I mean, that's great. Now we have time. Great call. I mean, my luxury is I get to go to a monitor and watch the whole thing over and get it exactly right. But in high school, whoever did that, that's a great job. And knowing that the horn didn't go yet, the kid got in his way. But then again, overall, everything with putting time back up, I never shoot free throws with like even at the end of the quarter or something like that with nobody at the lane because to me the foul happened before. Let's get together. It's not definite, maybe but we can at least talk about it to try to figure out if we can get the best case scenario up there, and then move forward. But great job by the crew.
Yeah. I thought that was quite a play to stay with it and just sell it too. Just ran and stayed with the player. So if he just to me did a lot of things right on that. As far as once he made a decision to go with that play, with that call. Anybody else?
I know sometimes too, you put time back on the clock and they're like, we don't know how to put tenths of a second on the clock. They can only do whole numbers.
Yeah, that's a good point, Matt. So maybe they wanted to put 7/10 or whatever, and they just couldn't do it, and they had to put the 1 second on there. So
And just real quick too, I'm sorry, I was going to point this out too. I like the trail coming up and trying to get that because that's still his matchup. It's in his area coming up the floor, so he's got to look for kind of a foul in that kind of scenario. So I do like him coming up and trying to officiate that play. Now center's got obviously last second shot, but he still has responsibility for that shooter.
yeah, and there was knowing that there's not a lot of time left, and that there's no reason to stay too far back at that point because it's just the game, you know how much time is left. It's not much time left. And so just being on the play as best you can. And yeah, anyway, there's a lot of nuance to the game and some great insight by you guys. So anybody else have anything before we sign off?
All right, guys, great job tonight. Appreciate all the feedback. And we're going to skip February 1st next week. and we're obviously going to skip the 8th because it's Super Bowl, but we'll be back February 15th, and the 22nd will be our last 2 for the year. So everybody stay safe, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.
Pleasure.
Guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks for doing it.